definitely finished all the different shapes that we're going to talk about, but what happens if you mix them together like this ice cream cone shape? So what we need to sort of do is look at and see what it is that we're looking at here. So when I look at surface area here, it's half of the sphere, right? I mean, I have half of a sphere, but you can see I don't have the bottom half of the sphere. So I'm going to figure out whatever the surface area of a sphere is and divide it by 2. And then I have the cone part of a cone, but I don't have the circle part. I don't have the base because that's covered by the sphere. So if you think about it, surface area is how much I would have to paint. Well, I wouldn't have to paint where the cone meets the ice cream cone, or the ice cream meets the ice cream cone. I would only have to paint, the ice cream itself and then what's left of the cone. So you really sort of have to visualize what part you need and sort of manipulate the formulas from there. So in this example, a half sphere, you'll notice I took the equation of the surface area of a sphere of 4 times pi times r squared, and I included a half in because I don't want the whole thing, and I manipulated that. Plus, I want the cone part of the cone, but I don't want the base. So that's pi times r times the slant height. And again, I'm leaving out the pi r squared because that part's covered by the sphere, so I don't need it. And again, you need to sort of be able to recognize what manipulations you make there. So the half sphere is a half times 4 times 3.14 times a radius of 10 squared. The cone part is 3.14 times 10 times the slant height. Well, I don't know what the slant height is. I know what the actual height is. And again, if you look at this, I know my height is 15. I know that my radius is 10, and I know I don't know my slant height, but I do know that it makes a right triangle. So again, I'm going to say 15 squared plus 10 squared equals L squared, and finish that off. I mean, just doing the math here, grab a calculator, whatever. I think I just erased a plus sign, or I never had it. I'm not sure which. Anyway, so the square root of 325 is 11.802. So I know that I can now take this 18.02. I don't know why I said 11.1802. Anyway, I'm going to take this 18.02 and put it in for the slant height. So I can go here, and I can now put that in. And now I have my whole equation. Again, I'm mindful of order of operations. I do the math on it. I get 628 for the half sphere. I get 565 for the cone part. I add them together. I get a surface area of... and again, I have not gone through and changed the units to centimeters. So that's going to be the surface area of this whole shape. And again, you can see how we combine the two and take what we need and sort of leave what we don't. Now, same thing for the volume. Now, the volume on this one is important because the volume of the sphere, I only have half the sphere, but the volume of the cone, I have the whole cone as far as volume. I mean, the fact that the top of the ice cream cone is missing is irrelevant as to how much it will hold. Just imagine a box without a lid. It holds the same amount with or without a lid. So that volume isn't going to change. So when I go here, I'm going to take the equation of a sphere, and I'm going to put a half in front of it because I only want half. But the cone, I'm going to use the whole volume. You'll notice it actually wants height instead of slant height here. So I go through, I slug these numbers in. I know my radius was 10 over here. I know my radius was 10, and I know my actual height was 15. Again, don't forget your actual height was 15 here. Your slant height was 18. So make sure you know the difference between the two. Again, I grab a calculator. I'm mindful of my calculations. The volume of the half sphere is 2093.33. The volume of the cone is 1570. I add them together, and I get 3663.33. Again, these ended up being centimeters. And again, not super concerned at all if you rounded this like to 3660 or 3665 or whatever, 3663. If you rounded it to like 4800 or 3500 or 3600, we're gonna, that's not okay. But if it's within a couple in either direction, that's gonna be totally fine. Alrighty.